So how does endurance racing lead you to interest in the Gaucho Derby?
I'm a podcast person,
Okay.
big time. I started listening to some endurance racing podcasts, and one of the other cool things about the endurance community is they are really good about like dictating their rides. So I don't know how these people remember, every step their horse takes during a 50-mile race, but they do somehow. And then they share them with the rest of the community. So a lot of the social media sites will have like a breakdown, like a full breakdown of how their ride went, the type of gear they were using, the type of electrolyte they're giving their horses for replenishment, what they were feeding themselves throughout the race to keep them, top shape for
because
a
obviously you
12-hour
don't
race.
have like a huge amount of luggage that you're
Right.
traveling with.
Nope.
This is bare bones traveling, of course.
Totally. So I've been listening to some podcasts,
Yeah.
and there was a podcast about one of the endurance racers from the East Coast who had gone to the Gaucho Derby, and somewhere between her talking about how she almost died and she almost drowned and she almost fell off a cliff, and I was like, I gotta do it.
That.
I gotta do it. Yeah. And I can't really describe it. I just was like, what's the worst that could happen? I'm gonna apply.
Yeah.
A lot of like famous riders, and there's some Australian horse trainers that are kind of world renowned.
Yeah.
They've done the Gaucho, and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get accepted, but what's the harm in applying?
Absolutely.
And then they called me, and
First
I was
time?
like, holy cow. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Holy cow.
Go cat. So it's in Patagonia, which is the southernmost region of South America.
Mm-hmm.
You are dipping very close to the South Pole,
Right.
right? You're going to be at the very tip of it. What will this entail? How long would you be there? What is that going to look like for you?
So Gaucho, just in numbers, is a 10-day race, and the course is set at 500 kilometers. You fly in to one of the nearby cities, and they bus you from the city to, it's like kind of their staging area, like where they're going to start this on the edge of the wilderness.
Yeah.
And you've got 3 days of training. They teach you land navigation, very like compressed,
Yeah.
fast, how to read a map.
Yes.
So topographic maps and all different terrain maps with your GPS system that they provide you. It's just a small, I believe it's Garmin. And then they talk with you about how to pack your gear, what you are allowed to pack. There are weight limits for riders and the gear that they can have. A rider is roughly, I think, geared up. So boots, helmet, and riding clothes on, you're allowed to be around 185 pounds. Total, and they're very strict on that because obviously they don't want to hurt the horses or anything like that. And then your gear itself, you have one pack, you're allowed up to 22 pounds of gear. So you kind of go through all that stuff, like making sure you know exactly what you need, your food, your rations, things like that for, the first leg of your journey. Yeah. They share all the rules. There's lots of rules. You can't cut a fence line. You can't, go certain directions. You have to stay on this map. You have to be done riding by a certain time every night, and you can't start until a certain time in the morning. So you spend the 3 days really going over a lot of that stuff, but it's also really important, I think, that you get to meet the people you're going to be riding with. And I do believe you get to know some of the horses. There's dozens of horses. So
because you are riding with an unfamiliar horse, correct?
Every day it's a different horse.
Every day a different horse?
Yeah, and it's a lottery draw. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, whatever horse you draw is the horse you take. And some of them are better than others.
Yeah, because there's another thing on the site. It's something like hard to catch, like riding hard to catch horses or something like that.
Yep.
You are an adventurer, aren't you? Because I was thinking, I was like, oh, well, she must. It's like, this is pretty expensive. You got to like ship a horse. No, that's why it's the hard to catch horses, because you have no idea who this horse is. So how do you then bond with the horse? Is it important to have some sort of a bond with the horse before you ride it, especially for this type of endurance race? Or
I've talked to a few riders who have done the Mongolian Derby, which is kind of the sister race of the Gaucho, on the Mongolian steppe, which is another insane ride. One day maybe.
I'm sure.
Right. And then learning from a lot of people who either are, kind of connected to people who have ridden in the Derby, and they've said that some horses you're just, and then I've known this too through my own career with horses, is some horses you're just not going to connect with, but listening to them and respecting them, I think, is more important than being able to necessarily connect with them. And kind of trying to figure out what their quirks are, I think, is more important, or like what language they want you to talk to them in, because I think that's going to be what saves you right off the get-go,
Oh, wow.
So
and I hadn't thought about that, because these are not, they don't necessarily understand or have been spoken to in English.
And a lot of these horses are used for like ranch and farm work in Argentina already, so how they're ridden and how they're used day to day is, I'm going to just assume, vastly different than how I would ride and use my horses day to day. So just being able to know, I guess, what they like, what they don't like, things immediately off the get. Who are they bonded with, you know? Like, what group of horses are they bonded to? Because that might be helpful. But just listening to them for a little bit. I do believe you have to catch them also. They have them in these large pens, so you have to catch them. Once you draw your horse, they're like, all right, go get it, So, yeah. And then the other thing that I know is really important is the amount of gear that you're packing. So it's not really traditional for people to be like galloping across the countryside with 22 pounds in a bag strapped to the saddle. So I think sometimes they are a little bit less willing to accept that. So, but we'll see. I think, like I said, just being able to kind of read them, I think, is going to be the biggest piece. I was offered a bid to ride in the February 2026 Gaucho, and I thought, that's only a few months away. Right, so really just from a lot of like the fundraising piece and making sure I've got my gear correct and making sure I'm as prepared as I possibly can. And then also obviously making sure work and the rest of my life isn't going to, fall apart if I pick it up and go. So, So it is the same. So tune in, because I'm sure it's going to be fun to watch.
So Kat is going to be riding in 2027. But she needs our help. She needs our help. It's not easy to go and leave your life for 10 days to race and love on these horses and have this. It's got to be an out-of-body experience. It's got to be an out-of-body experience to be in a foreign country with a foreign horse. Like you don't know the horse doesn't know you. Every day a different horse. She does have a GoFundMe set up. We'll add the GoFundMe to the screen so that if you want to help, if you can help, certainly she would appreciate it to help her get there and have this life-changing experience. Like, this is the most fascinating thing that I've heard, because there are so many things going on this planet. Every single day, you have no idea what people are into. Right. If somebody would have told me to pick the crazy horse lady, I would not have picked you. When I saw you walking toward me this morning, I was like, she looks so much tamer than I expected.
You told me to be presentable. Okay?
I did, and you are. You look very nice. You look very nice. I'm sure this is not what the horse will see. So when you all are traveling, are you camping out? Are there like fancy digs for y'all to sleep in, or is this y'all are living off the land?
Out there, yep, it is out there. I know certain places that you end up stopping don't have anywhere to even tie a horse to.